Thank you, Speaker Madam. Speaker Madam, it was in the year 2006 when for the very first time I heard the concept of GST, which was mentioned in the budget speech of then Finance Minister P. Chidambaram. Then, in 2011, I also was a witness to then Finance Minister, now our Honourable President Pranab Mukherjee ji, when he first introduced the bill in this very House. We saw the bill being introduced by the current Finance Minister, and after travelling through a long journey, taking a lot of turns, some right turns, some left turns, some U-turns, finally the turn of GST has come. And I would begin by congratulating and acknowledging the role played by all those who have shaped the journey of GST, and especially the role played by that of the UPA government, because the 8 out of the last 10 years belong to the UPA. I would like to straight away get into certain 3 or 4 points that I would like to make for the consideration of Honourable Finance Minister. The first point is, there has been a question which has been asked. What is the fixation with the rate 18%? Why does Congress want that the rate should be capped at 18%, and rather, why does Congress want that the rate should be as low as possible? Various arguments have come about. One of the arguments is that yes, it is a rate which was mentioned in the report that your government commissioned, the report of the Chief Economic Advisor, wherein he mentions 18% as an aggregate inflation neutral rate. But even in that particular report, by the way, mind you, 18% is not the final recommendation, so to speak, because the Economic Advisor's report talks about a revenue neutral rate of 15 to 15.5%, with greater emphasis on the lower territory of that range. So, in a sense, 18% is rather a concessionary rate that we are sticking to. But that's not the full argument, because if we were to do politics on this, instead of bringing about your report, we could have plucked out our report, the 13th Finance Commission Task Force report, which submitted its report in 2009 and 10, wherein the task force recommendation to the then Finance Ministry during the UPA was that the revenue neutral rate would be 11%, and the GST rate, the standard GST rate, should be fixed as 12%, with 7% for the states and 5% for the centre. We could have picked that report up, and we could have told you that, look here, your report says the rate should be 18% as a recommendation. A report which was commissioned during our time, the 13th Finance Commission Task Force report, that has recommended 12%, and let's go for 12%. But that's not the full argument. The heart of the argument, why we want a capping and why we want the lower rates, is the fact that the GST itself is a regressive tax. Ma'am, what do you mean by regressive tax? By regressive tax, what I mean is, there are certain taxes which put more burden on the rich, and there are certain taxes which put more burden on the poor. For example, medicines, ma'am. Medicines, Mukesh Ambani and Mukesh Singh, both will have to bear same tax to the government if they buy the same medicines. On the other hand, if it's income tax or the corporate tax, the rich will have to bear a larger share of the rather proportion of the burden. If we look at the aggregate Indian ratio of direct taxes to the indirect taxes, meaning the progressive taxes to regressive taxes in the Indian context, the entire national average, not just the average for the central government, but we add the states to it, because we have to look at states too. If you look at the aggregate ratio, ma'am, in Indian context, the ratio stands is 2/3 of our overall taxes are collected as indirect taxes, regressive taxes, putting more burden on the poor, and just 1/3 of our taxes are collected from the very rich in terms of income tax and corporate tax. If we look at the average ratio around the world, OECD countries, last 50-year average, it's exactly the reverse. 2/3 of the total taxes of the OECD countries are collected as direct taxes, putting burden as income tax and corporate tax, and only 1/3 come from the indirect taxes. GST is a form of indirect taxation. That is the reason why we are focusing on not just capping of the GST, even the revenue neutral rate would be a status quo rate, which will maintain this ratio. In fact, I would urge the government not only to just provide a capping figure, but also to provide a commitment that over a long period of time, time, indirect taxes. It will be an endeavor of the government to ensure that the indirect taxes shrink in proportion to the overall taxation of our government, and direct taxation increases, as is the line of overall how the world economies are shaping up. We believe their taxation policies are wrongly headed, and that's the reason why when they came into being, the very first thing the BJP did was to lower the corporate taxes, which Mukesh Ambani will have to pay more than Mukesh Singh. They lowered the corporate taxes from 30 to 25%. That was number one. Number two, they did not pass on the entire benefit of the crude oil by putting more duties on petroleum and diesel, which is a tax which the common man, the middle classes, the farmers and the poor have to pay. And now there is even a debate that the GST itself should be a bigger figure in terms of revenue collection. You should be looking to collect as little revenue from the GST as possible, which is in line with how the major developed economies of the world have gone. So we have a contradiction as far as this point is concerned. I would urge the finance minister to go in for an equitable tax, a tax which does not increase inequality. गरीबों पे ज्यादा बोझा डालने का काम करने की बजाय अमीरों पे जो टैक्स है. There is a reason, ma'am. Last one year we have seen 30% of the total number of billionaires which have come into being in the world have come from India in last 1 year. That is your achievement. Your economic policies of putting burden disproportionately on the poor while giving tax breaks to the rich through corporate taxes has led to this. And I'm warning you, inequality in India should not be further sustained.
Now
so that's my point. Ma'am, I've got two additional points very quick. Ma'am, one point relates to the compensation. I'm very happy coming from a state which is a producing state like Haryana. We contribute to about 3.5% of India's GDP. We are very happy with the provision which the government has added in the current version, wherein the government in the clause 18, government says that the government in the clause 19, Parliament shall by law for the next 5 years compensate the revenue losses of the producing sector. I thank the finance minister and the government for this consideration. But there is another incoherence which has developed, ma'am. 14th Finance Commission has come into being. Meanwhile, 14th Finance Commission has come into being. Now, how that's incoherence, ma'am, I'll explain.
Okay.
The government, the states which are producing states now are going to be hit by double whammy. One would be the revenue losses on account of the state's GST going down, because this is a destination-based tax. So the state, for that you are compensating for next 5 years. But on the other hand, the revenues which will accrue to the centre, devolution of that revenue also will be disproportionately discriminatory against the producing states because of the income distance formula. 50% of finance commission, according to the finance commission formula, 50% of the devolution is decided by the income distance from the state which is the highest GSDP per capita. So it means a state like Haryana, which is contributing 3.5%, will just get 1%, according to finance commission, just 1.08% of the national revenues. So we'll be hit by double whammy. One, loss of state GST,
now,
and two, our share of central GST is also going to go down. Ma'am, then there is this point of whether it should be a money bill or a finance bill. Ma'am, for this, I think the Constitution provides it in a very clear fashion. If we look at the provision 110 of our Constitution, ma'am, whether the bill which is going to be introduced in December or the winter session, we should be taken to the Council of States or not. Ma'am, if we look at two provisions of our Constitution, Article 110 and Article 199. Article 110 is the one which defines the money bill for this House. Where this House and your whatever you decide is supreme. But ma'am, Article 110, if you look at all the clauses of Article 110, ma'am, it clearly says that in the context of Consolidated Fund of India. Article 119 is the money bill for the states, which talks about Consolidated Fund of the states. This particular rate that you are going to present to the Parliament will be some combination of states and centre. So they cannot be independent. There is no article in the...
That time we will see. Yes. Now you complete.
So there is no article in the Constitution which provides for a situation that we are going to confront, where there is a combination of combination that is going to affect the consolidated funds of India and consolidated funds of state. Article 110 is money bill for center, 199 is the money. That's the reason why Article 117 exists, 117 the financial bill article exists, because Council of States need to have a stay and a say in this, and that's the reason why I urge upon the government to bring it as a financial bill, what the rate, and we will continue. Ma'am, we will continue to hold on to our position. That is, lower this rate as much as possible for the Kumarpal. Do not tax the poor. Do not tax the poor and do not give tax break to the rich. And that's the economic policy.
Thank you.